I'm not going to pursue that question, Mr. Attorney General, because I see it's hopeless. It's got nothing to do with your recusal. You're the Attorney General. You're also a lawyer. And we're dealing with a very fundamental controversy where the President is exerting executive authority under executive privilege, and the Congress is exerting constitutional authority for oversight, and we're trying to take it to court. The court decides when that conflict exists. Got nothing to do with necessarily the U.S. attorneys who were asked to resign. Let me move ahead to another subject, see if I get an answer here. You have a conflict of interest on the matter involving the resignations of the U.S. attorneys?
Yes, I'm recused from that.
Does the President have a conflict of interest in deciding whether or not to allow a contempt citation to go forward to a former White House counsel, Harriet Miers?
Senator, I am not going to answer that question. Again, you're talking about asking me questions about a manner in which I am recused. I'm not going to answer that question.
Well, let's see if somewhere, somehow, we can find a question you'll answer. How about the death penalty case? I wrote you about this. Had a man who was convicted of murder. Victim's body was never recovered. There was no forensic evidence directly linking the defendant to the victim's death. The U.S. attorney, a man named Paul Charlton, contacted your office and said, I don't think this is a proper case for the death penalty. Deputy Attorney General Paul McNulty had a conversation with Mr. Charleston and had a conversation with you, and then McNulty's Chief of Staff, Mike Elston, called Charlton, and this is Charlton's testimony. Elston indicated that McNulty had spoken to the Attorney General and that McNulty wanted me to be aware of two things. First, that McNulty had spent a significant amount of time on this issue with the Attorney General, perhaps as much as 5 or 10 minutes. Is that accurate? Factually, will you answer a question as to a fact, as to whether you talked to McNulty about this case for as much as 5 or 10 minutes?
I have no specific recollection as to this particular case, but I can tell you we have a very detailed process where hours are spent by lawyers, including the U.S. Attorney, our capital case review unit, who then make recommendations to the Deputy Attorney General.
I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in an answer to my question. If you don't know, if you don't remember, wait a minute, I'm not finished asking you the question. If you don't know or you don't remember what happened when you stood on a decision to have a man executed, that's what you're saying.
I have no specific recollection about the amount of time that I talked with Paul McNulty on this particular issue.
Well, would you disagree with McNulty that it was 5 to 10 minutes?
I can't agree with that if I don't recall, Senator.
Okay, you can't agree with it. I didn't ask you that. I asked you if you disagreed with it.
I can't agree or disagree with it.
Would you say that 5 to 10 minutes would be a, quote, significant amount of time for you to spend on a case involving the death penalty?
It would depend on the circumstances of the case and the recommendations coming up and the facts. That those would all dictate how much time I would spend personally on a particular case. Because we have a very extensive review process within the department where hours are spent analyzing what is the appropriate course of action for the Department of Justice.
Well, Mr. Attorney General, I'm not totally unfamiliar with this sort of thing. When I was District Attorney of Philadelphia, I had 500 homicides a year. I didn't allow any assistant to ask for the death penalty that I hadn't personally approved. And when I asked for the death penalty, I remembered the case. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you very much.